There's a kind of power that comes from what we keep within us. We live in a world that celebrates sharing our achievements, our goals, our opinions, even our emotions, with the click of a button. But not everything in life is meant to be shared. Some truths, some dreams, and some struggles are sacred, because when we share too soon, too widely, or with the wrong people, we risk losing the very energy that drives us forward. There are 3 secrets in life that must remain guarded, not out of pride, but out of wisdom. Let's explore them step by step. In the beginning, when a vision is born inside you, it's not loud. It doesn't shout for attention or demand validation. It's quiet, almost whispering, like a faint heartbeat that only you can hear. That's what makes it so powerful, yet so vulnerable. The moment inspiration strikes, there's a rush of excitement, an emotional surge that makes you want to tell the world what you've just discovered. But that's where most people make their first mistake. They share it before it's ready to stand on its own. A new vision is like a seed. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up every day to show people how it's growing. You don't expose it to the light before its roots are deep enough to survive. You let it stay in the dark, where it can draw strength from the soil, where it can grow quietly, invisibly. The same is true for your dreams. They need time to mature beneath the surface, to gather resilience before facing the harshness of doubt and disbelief. When you share your idea too soon, you open it to the winds of other people's opinions, and not everyone will see what you see. Some will misunderstand it, others will mock it. Many will simply be too afraid of your courage to dream. They will tell you to play it safe, to be realistic, to stay where it's comfortable. But here's the truth: greatness never grows in comfort. Innovation doesn't bloom in agreement. The world only celebrates results, not intentions. So before your vision is ready, keep it guarded. Protect it like a flame in the storm. Think about Thomas Edison. History remembers him as the man who gave light to the world. But at one point, people laughed at him. They called him foolish for chasing what seemed impossible. 10,000 failures, they said. But Edison didn't see failure, he saw progress. He wasn't discouraged by what didn't work, he was guided by it. He understood that vision requires endurance, not applause. Had he shared his dream with people who couldn't see beyond their own limitations, he might have been convinced to stop. And the world would have remained a little darker because of it. Your vision doesn't need everyone's approval, it needs your commitment. Because the truth is, most people can't see what hasn't yet taken form. They can't imagine what doesn't yet exist. They only believe when they can touch it, measure it, or see it succeed. That's why the early stages of a dream are the most dangerous. They're the most fragile. At that point, one careless comment, one discouraging remark, one raised eyebrow can make you second guess yourself. And once doubt creeps in, it spreads like a shadow over your faith. The greatest innovators, leaders, and creators all understood the importance of silence. They worked in the unseen. They allowed their vision to evolve privately before revealing it publicly. Because once your dream has form, once it has roots, no storm can easily uproot it. People may question it, but they can't crush it. They may doubt you, but your results will silence their doubts. You see, sharing too early often comes from insecurity, a subtle desire for validation. We crave assurance that our dream is good enough that others will believe in it. But here's the paradox: the moment you seek validation, you give away power. You hand your confidence over to others, allowing their opinions to define the worth of your vision. But real visionaries don't need permission to believe. They move forward because they know that conviction is stronger than approval. They don't ask, will this work? They say, it must. Protecting your vision isn't about secrecy, it's about stewardship. It's about knowing that timing matters. There's a season to plant, a season to water, and a season to harvest. You can't rush the process. The soil of preparation must be enriched with patience, discipline, and faith. Every great dream requires an incubation period, a quiet phase where nothing seems to be happening on the surface. But beneath it, everything is taking shape. If you've ever noticed, when a caterpillar enters its cocoon, it doesn't announce to the world that it's becoming a butterfly. It disappears, it goes silent. From the outside, it even looks dead. But inside, transformation is happening. Cells are reorganizing, colors are forming, wings are being built. And when it finally emerges, it doesn't crawl anymore. It flies. That's what your vision needs: time inside the cocoon of solitude, away from noise, away from distraction, away from opinions that cannot see your wings. People often think sharing early will help them get support, but more often it drains their energy. Because instead of building, they start defending. They spend time explaining their dream to those who were never meant to understand it. They lose focus trying to convince people who have no imagination. Remember, not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not everyone can handle the magnitude of what you're building. Protecting your vision is not arrogance, it's wisdom. It's knowing that something sacred can't be nurtured in a careless environment. There will come a time to share, but that time comes when your results can speak for themselves, when the vision has grown strong enough to withstand questions, when you no longer need to explain why, it simply is. That's when people listen differently. That's when they begin to believe, not because you told them to, but because they can see the evidence of your perseverance. Words may inspire, but results convince. And when your work speaks, you won't need to defend it. It will speak in a language everyone understands impact. There's something incredibly powerful about patience. The ability to hold a dream quietly, to nurture it without needing recognition, is a mark of maturity. It means you trust the process more than the praise. You understand that the greatest things ever created, ideas, art, inventions, movements, didn't begin on stages or social media feeds. They began in silence, in obscurity, in the mind of someone who dared to believe before the world did. So when inspiration visits you, when you feel that spark, guard it. It's not time to shout it from the rooftops. It's time to tend to it like a gardener tends to a new plant. Feed it with learning, water it with discipline. Shield it from negativity. Let it grow roots deep enough to hold steady when storms come. And when it finally blooms, when the world sees what you've been building, they'll call it sudden success. But you'll know, it wasn't sudden at all. It was a seed that was simply protected long enough to grow into something extraordinary. Your vision is your responsibility. It's not a public project, it's a personal covenant. So keep it close until it's strong enough to live outside of you. Because once it stands on its own, no one will ever be able to take it away. There's a quiet strength in privacy, a power that doesn't need to announce itself to be felt. In a world that rewards noise, where everyone wants to be seen, heard, and validated, choosing silence feels almost rebellious. Yet it is in that very silence that greatness is born. When you keep your next move private, you are not withholding information, you are protecting energy. You are choosing to build rather than broadcast. You are choosing substance over spectacle. Every time we announce what we are going to do, something curious happens inside us. The applause we receive, the approval we get, even the nods of encouragement, they feel good, too good. It tricks the brain into believing that we've already achieved something when in reality, we've only expressed an intention. That's why so many dreams die between the idea and the execution. The satisfaction of being recognized for ambition replaces the hunger to fulfill it. The mind confuses discussion with completion, and what was once a burning vision slowly fades into a warm fantasy. Researchers at NYU discovered that when people publicly declare their goals, they are statistically less likely to achieve them. Not because they lack discipline or passion, but because they've already experienced the reward that should come at the end. The brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that drives motivation and pleasure. When others acknowledge our plans, it's as if the brain cashes the check before the work has been done. So when the time comes to act, there's less drive, less urgency, less hunger. The goal has been emotionally achieved, even though nothing has physically changed. But there's something sacred about building in silence. It forces you to rely on faith instead of feedback. You learn to draw validation not from applause, but from progress. You begin to value the process, the unseen hours, the repetition, the mistakes. Because that's where true growth happens. Every late night, every early morning, every small decision that no one sees is a brick in the foundation of your success. And when you finally reveal what you've been working on, it doesn't need explanation. It speaks for itself. Think about how nature operates. A seed doesn't announce its intention to become a tree. It grows underground in darkness where no one can see. The roots dig deep before the branches ever reach high. The process is quiet, but the result is undeniable. The same is true for human potential. When you give yourself time to grow without interference, you develop depth, emotional depth, intellectual depth, spiritual depth. You don't need to convince anyone of what you're doing because your results will eventually make the announcement for you. Silence also shields you from distraction. The moment you make your intentions public, you invite opinions, some supportive, many not. Everyone suddenly becomes an expert on your life. Their doubts, fears, and expectations start to cloud your judgment. What was once your dream starts to become a committee decision. You start making choices not because they're right for you, but because they please others. Privacy, on the other hand, gives you the space to think clearly. It gives you ownership over your vision. You're not performing for anyone. You're creating for yourself. There's also an element of strategy in silence. The best chess players don't reveal their moves before they make them. The element of surprise is a form of power. When you keep your plans private, you maintain control of the narrative. No one can sabotage what they don't know exists. No one can limit what they can't see. Moving in silence doesn't mean moving in fear, it means moving with intention. It's about conserving your energy for execution rather than explanation. The truth is, people often misunderstand silence. They think it's weakness, indifference, or secrecy. But silence isn't empty, it's full of purpose. It's a declaration that your focus is sacred. It's the refusal to waste energy proving yourself when you could be improving yourself. The people who make the biggest noise are often trying to convince others of their worth. The ones who make the biggest impact are too busy working to explain. There's a reason the most successful people are rarely the loudest in the room. They don't need to narrate their every move. They don't need to post every milestone or share every idea. They understand that real power doesn't come from visibility. It comes from mastery. When your work is good enough, it will attract attention on its own. When your results are undeniable, people will come looking for you. The world doesn't reward noise, it rewards value. When you move in silence, you give yourself permission to fail privately. That's an underrated gift. You can experiment, adjust, learn, and improve without judgment. You can make mistakes without an audience. You can take risks without the fear of embarrassment. And that freedom allows you to grow faster. Every great creator, innovator, or leader went through a hidden season, a time when no one believed in them, no one saw what they were building, and no one clapped. That obscurity wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. Privacy also builds confidence. When you work in silence, your confidence isn't borrowed from other people's praise, it's built from your own progress. You don't need likes or validation to feel capable. You start to trust your instincts, your discipline, and your vision. You realize that confidence isn't about convincing others, it's about convincing yourself that what you're doing matters. So, the next time you're tempted to announce your next move, pause. Ask yourself why. Is it because you want accountability, or is it because you want attention? One of those will build you, the other will drain you. Your goals deserve your focus more than they deserve applause. The more you talk, the less you act. But when you act quietly, you begin to gather momentum, you begin to see real results. And when those results finally emerge, they speak so loudly that words become unnecessary. In the end, silence is not the absence of sound, it's the presence of strength. It's the calm confidence of knowing that your time will come, that your work will speak, and that your results will tell the story you've been writing behind the scenes. Don't chase recognition before you've built something worth recognizing. Move in private, build in private. Prepare in private, let your silence be your strategy and your results be your revelation. The loudest statement you'll ever make is success that needs no introduction. There is a subtle yet profound difference between vulnerability and exposure, and it is one of the most important distinctions we will ever learn in our lives. Vulnerability is courageous. It is the ability to stand in front of someone and reveal a piece of yourself that is real, authentic, and human. Exposure, on the other hand, is reckless. It is revealing your inner struggles without understanding the impact it can have, not only on how others perceive you, but on how you perceive yourself. When we expose ourselves carelessly, we give away the very energy we need to grow, to heal, and to become stronger. Many of us believe that sharing our pain indiscriminately is a form of honesty. We tell ourselves, if people know what I'm going through, they will understand me, they will empathize, they will support me. And sometimes that is true, but sometimes it backfires. There are people who cannot carry your pain with the tenderness it deserves. There are those who will misinterpret your struggle as weakness. They may use it to gossip, to undermine you, or to manipulate your emotions. Some will look at your vulnerability and offer pity instead of empowerment. And when that happens, your pain, instead of becoming a bridge to connection, becomes a weight you must drag through the world alone. Your pain is not a burden to be broadcast, it is a teacher. Every struggle, every disappointment, every heartbreak carries a lesson. Pain is not meaningless, it is information, it is insight, it is raw material for growth. But here is the critical part, you must process it first. You must wrestle with it privately before you share it publicly. Healing is not something that can be rushed. Healing is not something that can be outsourced to someone else's opinion. Healing is something you own. When you allow your pain to teach you before you show it to the world, it transforms from a wound into wisdom, from a scar into a story of strength. Too often we rush to tell our story before it is ready. We post it online, we recount it to anyone who will listen, we expose the raw, jagged edges of our hearts in the hope of connection or validation. But the world is not always ready to meet us there. And when we overshare, the world does not just witness our pain, it sometimes defines us by it. Your struggle is not your identity, your pain is not your character. It is a temporary part of your journey, a moment of hardship that has the power to shape you, but only if you handle it wisely. It is crucial to recognize who deserves to see your vulnerability. There are people in your life who are equipped to hold it gently, to honor it, to walk alongside you without trying to fix it or judge it. These are rare people. They are the ones who can reflect your pain back to you with compassion and insight without diminishing you. They do not shy away from it, they sit with it. They allow you to process your emotions while guiding you toward clarity and understanding. And when you find these people, sharing your struggle can be transformative. But until then, caution is not cowardice, it is wisdom. The act of keeping some pain private does not mean you are hiding from the world. It does not mean you are stoic or emotionally unavailable. It means you are strategic with your energy, conscious of the impact your story can have, and committed to your growth. There is a power in restraint. There is dignity in your pain. Carefully understood and carefully processed becomes a source of strength rather than a spectacle. Consider the difference between two individuals who experience hardship. One tells everyone their entire story immediately, expecting empathy but often receiving judgment or indifference. Their struggle becomes their definition, and their identity is shaped by how others react to their suffering. The other faces their pain privately, reflects on it, learns from it, and then shares only what is meaningful and constructive. Their struggle becomes a source of inspiration, a story of resilience, and a testimony to human growth. Which story do you want to live? Which one do you want to tell? The lessons your pain teaches you are sacred. They are lessons about patience, about perseverance, about the depth of your own strength. They are lessons about empathy, about understanding the struggles of others because you have faced your own. And they are lessons about timing. There is a right time to share, a right audience, a right context. When you honor that timing, your story carries power. When you rush it, your story risks becoming chaotic, misunderstood, and diluted. Many of us live in a culture of oversharing, of immediate reaction, of the desire to be seen and validated at every turn. But the truth is, the most powerful stories are not the ones that scream for attention. They're the ones that resonate, that linger, that inspire because they were carefully shaped by reflection and growth. You are not defined by what happens to you. You are defined by how you respond, how you grow, and how you ultimately use your experience to serve others. Let your pain instruct you first. Sit with it, feel it, understand it. Ask yourself what it is teaching you, not just about the world, but about yourself. What strengths are hidden within your struggle? What wisdom is waiting to be uncovered? And then, when the moment is right, when you are ready, when your story has been refined by healing, share it. Share it not to seek pity, not to elicit sympathy, not to gain followers, but to inspire, to empower, to illuminate the path for someone else who may be silently struggling. Your pain, once processed, becomes a beacon. Your story, once healed, becomes a lifeline. The challenge is not in feeling pain. The challenge is in managing it wisely. The real courage is not in exposing every wound to the world. It is in confronting it privately, learning from it, and emerging stronger, wiser, and more resilient. And when you finally share it, the world will not just see your pain, they will see your triumph over it. They will not just witness your vulnerability, they will witness your courage, your discernment, and your humanity. Remember, vulnerability is a bridge. Exposure without discernment is a drain. Your pain is sacred, it is a private tutor. Protect it, learn from it, honor it. Then, when the time comes, share it with those who can truly understand it. Let it inspire rather than diminish. Let it empower rather than weaken. And let every struggle you face become a stepping stone toward a life of strength, purpose, and meaningful connection. When you learn to hold your pain carefully, when you learn to honor its lessons before revealing it, you discover a power few ever truly know. You discover a resilience that is unshakable, a wisdom that is rare, and a voice that carries authority because it's been forged in reflection rather than chaos. You discover that the deepest human connections are built not on what is recklessly exposed, but on what is thoughtfully shared. Pain is inevitable. Struggle is part of the human experience, but the way we handle it determines everything. Choose to be deliberate. Choose to be discerning. Choose to allow your pain to teach, to shape, to refine before you reveal it to the world. In doing so, you will not just survive, you will thrive. You will not just tell a story, you will create a legacy. And in that legacy, you will find your true strength, your deepest courage, and your highest purpose. Confidence is often misunderstood. People think it's a product of success, recognition, or applause. They believe that when the world nods in approval, when the crowd cheers, when the accolades pile up, that is when confidence blooms. But real confidence doesn't come from outside, it comes from inside. It is rooted not in validation, but in clarity, in knowing who you are, what you stand for, and why you do what you do. Confidence is born from alignment. When your actions, values, and intentions converge, you no longer need to measure yourself against the standards of others. You no longer need to seek permission to exist fully or to pursue your path. Every time you look for approval, you are subtly handing over a piece of your power. When you ask the world to tell you you're good enough, you become dependent on its judgment. You place your worth in the hands of people who will never fully know your journey. You invite criticism, doubt, and distraction into the very core of your being. And that is dangerous because confidence that relies on applause is fleeting. It vanishes when the audience leaves, when the likes stop coming, when the praise fades. Confidence tethered to external validation is fragile, and fragility is not what will carry you through the storms of life. Think about the athlete who steps onto the field not to master the game, not to express the skill they've honed through years of practice, but to prove someone wrong. Every move they make, every sprint, every leap is fueled by the need to silence critics. At first, this might work. They may taste victories, earn accolades, and feel the rush of temporary satisfaction. But over time, that fire dims. The fuel they have been pouring, anger, resentment, or the need for recognition, is not sustainable. It burns hot, yes, but it burns out. Exhaustion, frustration, and disillusionment follow because the source of their drive was external, not internal. Contrast this with the athlete who steps onto the field for the love of the game, for the thrill of improvement, for the art of mastery. They play with intention, with presence, with a deep understanding of who they are and why they play. Their energy is inexhaustible because it comes from a place that cannot be stolen. No matter the crowd, no matter the critics, no matter the scoreboard, their confidence remains. It is not conditional. It is not borrowed. It is theirs. This is the kind of confidence that propels people to extraordinary achievements, not because they are trying to impress anyone, but because they are fully aligned with their purpose. Your confidence is your inner compass. It tells you when to move forward, when to pause, and when to pivot. It gives you the courage to take risks, to face uncertainty, and to step into situations that would terrify others. But it is delicate. It can be influenced, diluted, or even stolen when you allow external noise to dictate your value. Every opinion that makes you question yourself, every judgment that shakes your sense of self, every comparison that leaves you feeling inadequate chips away at your inner compass. That is why protecting it is essential. Guard it like a treasure because it is. Protection does not mean isolation. It does not mean you stop learning, stop listening, or stop engaging with the world. It means choosing wisely whom you allow to influence your perception of yourself. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, not people who feed your insecurities. Seek feedback from those who understand your journey, not those who will diminish it. And most importantly, Learn to hear your own voice above the noise, your instincts, your values, your purpose. These are the signals that will guide you better than any applause ever could. Confidence also requires self-compassion. Many people confuse confidence with perfection. They think if they are flawless, if they never fail, then they are worthy. But that is an illusion. Real confidence allows for mistakes. It embraces failure as part of growth. It acknowledges fear without letting fear dictate choices. When you can look at yourself honestly, see your strengths and weaknesses, and still believe in your ability to grow, you unlock a level of inner strength that no external validation can touch. When life tests you, as it inevitably will, you will face criticism, rejection, and doubt. You will encounter people who do not understand your vision or your choices. You will hear voices that try to convince you that you are not enough. In those moments, the confidence that comes from alignment will stand firm. It does not waver because it is anchored in truth. You know who you are. You know why you are doing what you do, and that knowledge is unshakable. Many leaders, artists, and innovators who've made a lasting impact understood this instinctively. They knew that to create something extraordinary, they could not rely on applause or external affirmation. They had to cultivate a deep-seated confidence that arose from clarity and purpose. They learned to trust their inner compass, even when the world doubted them. That trust allowed them to take bold steps, to innovate, to challenge norms, and to inspire others. And the irony is that by protecting their confidence, by aligning themselves with their values rather than the crowd, they became the very people whose validation others sought. It is tempting in a world of constant feedback and social media metrics to measure your worth through likes, shares, and praise. But that is a mirage. Confidence is not a reflection of popularity or recognition. It is an internal state, a quiet but unwavering belief in your capability, your purpose, and your journey. When you anchor yourself in this truth, you no longer perform for applause. You perform for mastery. You perform for impact. You perform for the fulfillment that comes from being fully, authentically, unapologetically yourself. So protect the source of your confidence. Treat it as sacred. Nourish it with clarity of purpose, alignment with values, and unwavering belief in yourself. Resist the urge to seek constant approval. Resist the temptation to compare yourself to others. Resist the pressure to perform for external validation. Your confidence is not a commodity to be traded for applause. It is a force that will carry you through challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. Guard it, cherish it, and let it guide you. When you do, you will move through life with a sense of freedom, courage, and unstoppable momentum. You will act not out of fear or need for approval, but out of love for what you do, belief in who you are, and clarity of why you exist. And in that alignment, you will discover a confidence that no one can take, no circumstance can diminish, and no voice can shake, a confidence that is entirely and powerfully your own. Imagine a world where every act of kindness carried a hidden contract, where every smile, every helping hand, every gesture of compassion demanded recognition, repayment, or validation. That is not the world I want us to live in, and I want you to think carefully about the subtle yet devastating trap this creates. When kindness is tethered to expectation, it ceases to be kindness. It becomes a transaction, a ledger entry in a book that only measures returns. And the moment it becomes transactional, it loses its soul. True kindness, the kind that has the power to transform lives, does not ask for applause. It does not check to see if anyone is watching. It exists in its purest form when it flows freely from a heart aligned with integrity, empathy, and authenticity. Giving without expectation requires courage, because in a world that often measures worth by visible outcomes, choosing to act without promise of reward feels like swimming against the current. But this courage is the heartbeat of real impact. It is what plants seeds that grow long after we are gone, seeds whose roots dig deep in ways we may never witness. Consider this: how many times have you performed an act of kindness only to feel disappointed when it went unnoticed or unappreciated? That sting, that moment of disillusionment, is not a flaw in you. It is a reflection of a world conditioned to expect something in return. The world wants the shiny, measurable outcome, the story that can be shared and liked, the social proof that validates the action. But life rarely works like that. Real change, the kind that shifts hearts and shapes destinies, often occurs in silence, away from the eyes of the crowd. I want you to imagine a teacher standing in front of a classroom, sharing her knowledge with her students. Day after day, year after year, she pours herself into her work, hoping only that the lessons she imparts will take root. She does not know the faces she will shape, the minds she will ignite, the lives she will change. Decades later, a man approaches her and says, "You changed my life." She looks at him blankly, unable to remember him. And yet, in one small, seemingly insignificant moment, her kindness planted a seed so deep that it grew into a life transformed. That is the essence of giving without expectation, the invisible, unmeasured, yet profound impact that shapes the world quietly and powerfully. This is not an abstract idea. It is a principle that every person in this room can apply, starting today. When you choose to help someone, do it without calculating the return. When you listen with patience, do it without anticipating gratitude. When you offer support, do it without waiting for recognition. Because the value of these acts does not diminish if they go unseen. In fact, their value is amplified precisely because they are given freely. Every act of unselfish kindness builds a reservoir of trust, hope, and human connection that cannot be quantified, but that can alter the course of a life, or many lives, in ways that statistics and accolades cannot capture. It is tempting to think that the world will notice, that the people we touch will acknowledge our efforts, and that our kindness will be rewarded in tangible ways. But real kindness is patient. It does not demand the immediate validation of social media likes, public recognition, or verbal acknowledgement. Its reward is intrinsic, the quiet, enduring satisfaction of knowing that you acted in alignment with your values, that you honored your humanity, and that you sowed goodness into a world that often feels indifferent. That peace, that sense of alignment is far more valuable than any external reward. You may never meet the people whose lives you touch. You may never hear the words of gratitude, the stories of transformation, the echoes of hope that your actions have created. And that is precisely why giving with expectation is so limiting. It binds your potential impact to the fragile and unpredictable responses of others. True kindness is independent of external affirmation. It is the choice to act in integrity, to be generous, and to uplift others because it reflects who you are, not because it guarantees a return. And here is where the real power lies. When you give without expectation, you create a ripple effect. One act of genuine kindness can inspire another. One word of encouragement can ignite hope in a soul that has been weathering storms unseen. One silent gesture can plant the courage someone needs to take a bold step forward. The world changes not always in visible explosions, but often in subtle, quiet shifts that compound over time. The teacher's forgotten sentence, the smile you shared with a stranger, the support you gave without announcing it, these are the invisible threads that weave together a stronger, more compassionate human experience. We live in a culture that often confuses recognition with value. We are conditioned to measure our worth by the attention we receive, by the visible markers of impact. But the most meaningful acts of kindness are often invisible. They are the words whispered in confidence, the hand extended when no one is looking, the moments where integrity overrides convenience. They remind us that value is not external, it is internal. It is measured not by who sees it, but by who is affected. It is measured not by the applause, but by the quiet, enduring difference it makes in the life of another human being. So today, I challenge you to rethink the way you approach kindness. Let go of the expectation for recognition, for repayment, for acknowledgement. Let your actions flow from the essence of who you are. Trust that even if your gestures go unseen, their impact is real, enduring, and transformative. Choose courage over comfort, integrity over expedience, generosity over calculation. In doing so, you step into a force far greater than yourself, a force that nurtures, heals, and shapes the future in ways you may never witness, but will forever be grateful you contributed to. The world does not need more transactions disguised as kindness. It needs hearts that give freely, that plant seeds without counting the harvest, and that act in alignment with values that transcend visibility. There is immense beauty and power in this approach. When you embody it, you inspire others not through words, but through example. You create a culture where kindness is its own reward, where generosity flows naturally, and where the quiet strength of giving without expectation transforms not just individual lives, but communities, societies, and generations to come. The story of the teacher and her forgotten student is not an isolated incident. It is a testament to a universal truth. The impact of genuine kindness is often unseen, but it is never wasted. Every time you choose to act with compassion, integrity, and generosity without expectation, you are contributing to a legacy far greater than any accolade, recognition, or applause could ever provide. That is the true power of kindness. A power that is silent, invisible, and infinitely more profound than any transaction could ever be. Kindness given without expectation is not weakness. It is strength. It is not naivety. It is wisdom. It is not about what you receive. It is about what you create. It is the quiet force that builds trust where there is doubt, hope where there is despair, and connection where there is isolation. And when you embrace this principle fully, you discover something remarkable. The act of giving freely transforms not only the receiver, but also the giver. It aligns you with the best version of yourself, grounding you in purpose, peace, and the enduring joy of contributing to the world without conditions. This is the message I want you to carry. Give because it is who you are. Give because it is right. Give without counting, without demanding, without needing confirmation. Plant your seeds in silence, water them with integrity, and trust that they will grow in ways you may never witness. Because true kindness is not measured by recognition, remembered gestures, or accolades. It is measured by the lives it touches, the hope it ignites, and the quiet, lasting peace it leaves behind. The world needs this kind of kindness now more than ever, and each of us has the choice every single day to embody it fully. Here's an expanded version of your keynote speech in roughly 1,000 words, written in a powerful, emotionally resonant style with a logical flow. Never share secrets others trusted you with. This is more than advice. It is a principle that shapes the very essence of character. Trust is the highest currency we possess as human beings. It is invisible, yet it moves the world. It is silent, yet it speaks louder than any words ever could. When someone chooses to confide in you, they're giving you something sacred, a fragment of their vulnerability, a piece of their soul, and with that gift comes responsibility. Too often, we mistake trust for convenience, for leverage, for fodder to share in passing conversation. But when trust is broken, it shatters quietly at first, then loudly in ways we may never fully understand. Broken trust rarely returns in full value, and when it does, it carries a scar that never fades. Think about the moments when someone has shared a secret with you, something that they could not share with the world, something that made them feel exposed, raw, and real. In that moment, they have placed their confidence in your hands. They have chosen to believe that your presence is safe, that your integrity will honor their vulnerability. It is tempting in the rush of connection to blur the line between privacy and conversation, to let a whispered confidence slip into idle chatter. But doing so is a betrayal that cannot be undone. It is more than losing a friend or damaging a relationship. It is diminishing the very essence of who you are. Because character is built in the silent choices we make when no one is watching. Every time you honor a trust, you strengthen your soul. Every time you betray it, you chip away at your own foundation. There is a common misconception that sharing secrets can create closeness, that revealing what others have entrusted you with can somehow make you more connected or more interesting. The reality is the exact opposite. True connection is born not from the volume of what you speak, but from the weight of what you guard. People are drawn to those who can be trusted in silence, those who do not need the spotlight of gossip or the validation of public approval. When you are that person, you become rare in a world that has forgotten the power of discretion. You become a refuge, a sanctuary for those who need safety in a relationship, a calm harbor in the storms of judgment and misunderstanding. Every act of keeping a secret is a testament to strength. Real strength is not measured in how loudly you proclaim your loyalty or in how many times you tell the world of your honesty. It is measured in quiet moments when no one sees the choice you make, when the world offers opportunity for betrayal and you step back, choosing integrity instead. Protecting someone's trust requires more than restraint. It requires empathy, imagination, and a commitment to something greater than self-interest. You must put yourself in the shoes of the person who confided in you and understand the fragility of their gift. You must remember that a secret is not a tool, but a treasure, and treasures are not meant to be squandered. In life, there will be countless opportunities to test this principle. A friend may share their fears, a colleague may reveal their ambitions, a partner may confess their insecurities. Each time you will face a choice to protect or expose. The temptation to expose is subtle. It comes as humor in a story, as leverage in a negotiation, as a way to impress or bond with someone else. But the cost of yielding to that temptation is far higher than the fleeting satisfaction it promises. Because when you break trust, you don't just harm the one who confided in you, you harm yourself. You compromise the integrity that forms the core of who you are. You begin to doubt your own reliability, begin to question whether your word, once given, will hold weight. And slowly, silently, the currency of trust that you hope to build with others begins to devalue in your own eyes. To never share secrets is to create a kind of legacy. It is a declaration of reliability that will echo far beyond your own lifetime. When people know that you can be trusted, doors open that words alone cannot unlock. Opportunities, relationships, and partnerships arise not because of charm or charisma, because people sense the security of your integrity. They know that what they give you will remain safe, that their vulnerability is honored, and that you carry the weight of their confidence with respect. This is the silent power of character. The ability to command respect, not through force, but through fidelity to the unspoken agreements we make with each other as human beings. We live in a culture that celebrates disclosure, exposure, and sharing every detail of life as though transparency alone equals virtue. But transparency without discernment is reckless. Oversharing does not signify honesty, it signifies a lack of boundaries. It erodes the trust others place in you. If you want to be truly admired, truly respected, you must cultivate the ability to listen without judgment, to witness without broadcasting, and to protect without hesitation. There is beauty in restraint, in the wisdom to know that some things are meant to remain in the quiet corners of human interaction. Remember that trust is not just about what you do when others are watching. It is about what you do when no one else knows. It is forged in private, tested in the invisible moments of decision. When you keep someone's secret, you become more than a friend, more than a colleague. You become a pillar of integrity. You become someone who inspires confidence, who creates safety, who empowers others to be their authentic selves because they know they will not be exposed. And that, in turn, creates a cycle of trust. People begin to mirror your integrity. They begin to understand that strength is not in what is revealed, but in what is protected. So never share secrets others trusted you with. Not because the world will punish you if you do, but because your soul will recognize the difference between fleeting attention and enduring respect. Not because keeping quiet is easy, but because it is a choice that defines who you are at the deepest level. In every whispered confidence, in every delicate revelation, there is an opportunity to demonstrate courage, the courage to resist temptation, the courage to honor the human spirit, and the courage to be someone who others can rely on when it matters most. The world does not need more voices amplifying secrets, more hands careless with trust. The world needs people who understand that real power is quiet, real strength is protective. Real value is measured not by what you reveal, but by what you hold sacred. When you make the choice to protect what is entrusted to you, you contribute to a world where integrity still matters, where relationships are grounded in respect, and where people can connect without fear. Every secret you keep is a testament to your character, every act of discretion a brick in the foundation of your legacy. People will forget what you say, but they will never forget how you made them feel safe. And in the end, that is the most profound currency of all: trust earned, trust honored, trust that cannot be bought or faked. The person who masters this principle becomes someone the world quietly depends on, a silent force of goodness, and a guardian of the human spirit. That is the strength that endures, the strength that inspires, the strength that transforms not just relationships, but lives. There's a profound strength in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Life has a way of putting us in situations that feel overwhelming, confusing, and sometimes unbearable. In those moments, we are in the middle of a storm trying to navigate the wind and rain, trying to make sense of what is happening around us and within us. And it is tempting, isn't it, to want to share it all immediately, to unburden ourselves, to let the world see our struggle. But there is a difference between sharing from a place of clarity and sharing from a place of chaos. There is a difference between reflection and exposure. And understanding that difference is what separates those who lead a life of impact from those who are simply reacting to life as it happens. When you are in the middle of your journey, your story is still forming. The emotions are raw, the lessons are unlearned, and the wounds are fresh. If you tell your story too early, you risk presenting confusion as insight. You risk seeking sympathy when what the world truly needs is strength. There is a subtle power in holding your story close, in keeping it private until it has been distilled through your understanding, patience, and growth. When you wait, you allow yourself to step outside of the immediate storm, to observe it with perspective, and to extract meaning from the chaos rather than simply reporting it. Think about the times when someone has shared their life with you, but it was a narrative of pain without insight, a flood of events without reflection. How did it make you feel? Often it left you unsettled, unsure of what to do with the information, sometimes even overwhelmed. But now, think about the stories you have heard where someone spoke not from the wound, but from the wisdom that emerged from it. The difference is electric. That is the moment where your story transcends your personal struggle and becomes a gift to others. That is the moment where your experience transforms into guidance, inspiration, and strength for someone else. It is important to recognize that when you share your story too soon, you are often not giving, you are asking. You are asking for validation, for understanding, for acknowledgement of your suffering. And there is nothing inherently wrong with needing that. We are human, we crave connection, but there is a subtle difference between using your story to seek comfort and using your story to give courage. The first is a transaction. The second is a transformation. And if your desire is to have a meaningful impact, the transformation is the only path that leads there. There is also a danger in exposing your story prematurely. When we share from a place of confusion, we invite opinions, judgments, and advice that can pull us further from our own clarity. Suddenly, the narrative that should belong to us, the story that should unfold naturally and authentically, becomes influenced by others' perspectives. This external input can distort our understanding, lead us down paths that are not ours, and delay the lessons we are meant to learn. Holding your story close is not about isolation. It is about protection, or with people who do not resonate with that depth can dilute their power. They might nod politely, offer advice, or even judge, but they cannot truly feel what you feel. There is a strength in keeping your spiritual journey private. It allows your faith, your purpose, and your connection to grow without interference. It allows you to explore your beliefs deeply, to ask hard questions, and to evolve in ways that cannot be rushed or directed by others. Your spiritual path is like a seed planted deep in the soil. If you expose it too early, it can be trampled, misunderstood, or even uprooted by the opinions of others. But when you protect it, nurture it quietly, and allow it to grow in its own time, it can blossom in ways that are powerful and resilient. It is important to remember that not everyone is meant to walk alongside you in your spiritual growth. Some will try to bring you down, intentionally or unintentionally. Others may simply lack the capacity to understand what you are experiencing. That does not make your journey less valid. It simply means that sacred things require discernment. Your spiritual experiences are a reflection of your unique connection to the divine, to purpose, or to your higher self. They are not a performance, and they do not require applause. They are a source of inner strength that only grows when it is honored quietly. There is also a profound beauty in the unspoken. Silence in spiritual matters is not emptiness, it is reverence. When you hold certain experiences close to your heart, they become a private language between you and the source of your inspiration. They guide you without the interference of external voices. They allow you to listen deeply, to notice subtleties in life, and to respond with authenticity rather than imitation. The most transformative spiritual experiences are often those that cannot be fully articulated. They are felt in the heart, not explained in conversation. When we speak of our spiritual journey openly, we often do so in the hope of connection or validation. We hope that someone else will recognize the significance of our insight, that they will nod in agreement or offer praise. But the truth is that the depth of your connection cannot be validated externally. Its power exists within you. The energy, the insight, and the peace that come from your spiritual journey are meant to fuel your actions, your decisions, and your life. They are meant to give you clarity when the path ahead is uncertain, courage when fear rises, and hope when despair threatens to take hold. Consider the way light works. Light illuminates the path for the one who carries it, and sometimes it touches others indirectly. You do not need to announce the brightness you carry for it to be effective. The mere presence of your inner light, nurtured through private reflection and experience, can influence the world quietly but powerfully. It can inspire others not through explanation, but through example. The people around you may not understand the source of your calm, your courage, or your insight, but they will feel its effect. And that is more meaningful than any spoken recognition could ever be. Your spiritual journey is a personal covenant, a commitment to understanding life and your role within it. It asks for patience, humility, and trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and trust in something larger than yourself. To share its depths recklessly is to risk that sacred covenant being diminished. Guard it, protect it. Let it unfold organically, quietly, and with integrity. Let it become your invisible backbone, holding you steady when the world shakes and your compass when you feel lost. Ultimately, the most powerful spiritual growth is lived, not broadcast. It manifests in the way you carry yourself, the way you respond to challenges, and the way you interact with others. It is visible in the quiet confidence of a person grounded in purpose, and in the serenity of someone who knows their life is aligned with something greater. That power is yours alone to cultivate, and when it is cultivated privately, it becomes unshakable, resilient, and transformative. Do not underestimate the value of keeping certain experiences sacred. They're your refuge, your guidance, and your source of strength. Your spiritual journey is not a story to be told, it is a life to be lived. Protect it, honor it, and allow it to deepen in its own time. By doing so, you ensure that when the storms come, when doubts arise, and when the world demands your attention, you have an unwavering center to return to. A center that is alive, vibrant, and untouched by the noise of the outside world. Your connection to purpose, faith, or the divine is a treasure beyond measure. Treat it with reverence. Let it be private, let it be sacred, and let it transform you in ways that words could never capture. In the end, it is not the sharing of your journey that defines its power. It is the living of it fully, faithfully, and deeply in a way that shapes your life and the lives of those around you without the need for anyone else to understand. Your spiritual journey is yours to hold, yours to experience, and yours to live fully. Guard it wisely, and it will guide you, protect you, and empower you far beyond anything you could ever explain. The strongest people aren't those who share everything, they're the ones who know what to withhold. They understand that privacy isn't secrecy, it's protection. Not everything sacred should be seen. Not every truth is ready to be told. So protect your vision, protect your peace, protect your energy, because when you learn what not to share, you preserve the strength that helps you rise above doubt and distraction. And that's how you lead a life of quiet power and lasting impact. Experiences are valuable, but their value is maximized not when they are raw, but when they are refined. Imagine the power of a story that comes from someone who has wrestled with their challenges, looked at themselves honestly, and emerged with understanding. That story carries weight, it carries authority, it carries hope, it carries the ability to ignite change, both within the listener and within the storyteller. Consider for a moment the difference between a wound and a scar. A wound demands attention. It draws empathy, but it also reveals vulnerability in a way that can be disarming and sometimes painful. A scar, however, tells a different story. It is evidence of survival. It is proof of resilience. It shows that pain was present, but it also demonstrates that healing occurred. It carries authority, it carries credibility. And when you share a story after it has turned into a scar, rather than while it is still a wound, you are no longer seeking comfort. You are offering guidance. You are no longer asking for validation. You are inspiring belief. In our world today, there is a tendency to overshare. We live in an era where transparency is celebrated, and the raw moments of life are broadcast to the world as if exposure itself is virtue. But there is a quiet strength in discretion. There is power in the ability to hold your experiences, to live them, and to allow them to shape you before you make them public. This is not secrecy for the sake of secrecy, it is intentionality. It is a recognition that the timing of your voice matters just as much as the content of your story. The people who move the world, who leave a mark that lasts, do not do so by broadcasting every struggle as it occurs. They do so by integrating their experiences, learning from them, and then choosing to share their story in a way that educates, empowers, and uplifts. They understand that influence is not derived from immediate transparency, it is derived from perspective earned through experience. And they understand that the world does not need to witness the chaos of your journey, it needs to benefit from the clarity you achieve at the end of it. So, embrace the art of patience in your storytelling. Live your story fully, face your challenges openly, but hold the narrative until it has been refined through reflection. Let your experiences simmer in the quiet of your mind, in the solitude of introspection, and in the deliberate processing of your emotions. Give yourself the gift of understanding before you give the world your story. When you do finally share it, it will not be for the sake of sympathy, it will not be to validate your pain. It will be to illuminate a path for others, to offer a beacon in their darkness, and to transform your personal journey into collective inspiration. Remember, your story is powerful, it is sacred, and the timing of its telling is as important as the lessons it carries. Speak too early, and it may be lost in the noise. Speak too late and you may have missed the moment, but speak when it has been forged into insight, and it will resonate in ways you cannot yet imagine. Your story has the potential to heal, to guide, to inspire, and to empower. And the responsibility of the storyteller is to ensure that the world receives it at the moment it can do the most good, not when it serves only the storyteller. There is courage in restraint. There is wisdom in waiting. There is impact in patience. The chaos of your journey will pass, the confusion will clarify, and the wounds will transform into scars. When that happens, your story will not just be a recounting of events, it will be a testament to resilience, a source of guidance, and a spark that ignites strength in others. Do not rush to share it. Do not settle for attention over insight. Wait until your story has become something more than an expression of pain. Wait until it is a legacy of strength. And when that time comes, speak boldly, because your voice will carry not the tremor of confusion, but the resonance of wisdom. Your story is not meant to soothe you alone. It is meant to empower the world. Hold it with care, shape it with reflection, and release it with intention. That is the difference between living a life of fleeting sympathy and living a life of enduring impact. The world is ready for your wisdom, but only when your story has become a gift rather than a plea. And that is the secret of transformative storytelling: to wait until the wound becomes the guide, the chaos becomes clarity, and your journey becomes a light for others. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of a vast ocean, the waves stretching endlessly before you, and beneath the surface, currents are moving in ways you cannot see. That ocean is your spiritual journey. It is profound, complex, and deeply personal. It is not something that can be fully measured or explained. It is something that must be felt, lived, and understood from within. And yet, in a world that constantly encourages us to share, to broadcast, to seek approval, there is a subtle danger in revealing the full depth of this sacred experience. When you allow others to dissect your spiritual experiences, when you try to explain the unexplainable, you invite them to analyze it through their own lens, often a lens that cannot reach the richness of what you feel. Some things are meant to be experienced, not rationalized. The moment you reduce your sacred moments to words, you risk stripping them of their essence. The power of your spiritual journey lies not in how it is understood by others, but in how it transforms you. It is your anchor in the storms of life, your compass when you are lost, and your light when the world seems dark. Think about the moments that have truly shaped you spiritually. The times you felt awe, the times you experienced inexplicable peace, the moments when something larger than yourself seemed to touch your life. Those moments are sacred because they are intimate and real. They are not meant for approval or admiration. They are meant to remind you who you are at the core. Sharing them prematurely